You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the January 25th, 2024 meeting of the Michigan City Board of Public Works and Safety. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good morning. I'd like to call the Thursday, January 25th, 2024 meeting of the Michigan City Board of Works and Safety to order. All three board members are present, Gene Simmons, Candace Antistel, and myself, Tim Beatry. The first item on the agenda is approval of minutes from the regular hybrid Zoom meeting on January 2nd, 2024. I know we've all had an opportunity to look at that. Great.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of approval of the minutes, signify by saying aye. Aye. For the purpose of the minutes, it's 3-0, so the minutes are accepted. Next on the item is the awarding, not an awarding of bid, it's a sale of city-owned property, Wild Rose Drive, a vacant lot, parcel 46-01-13-232-022. 0.000-022. I think that's the last time I'm going to read one of those. Is there someone in the audience who'd like to address that? Your name and address?
You bet, Mr. President. My name is Barry McDonald. I'm an attorney here in Michigan City at 601 Franklin Street. And I'm here this morning to answer any questions the board may have regarding my client, which is Indiana Invesco LLC, which is a locally owned LLC that owns a lot of property throughout LaPorte County. And as I understand it, was the sole bidder on the property that was put out to bid on Wild Rose Drive. And I think the concern or the question, or I think maybe while we're here, is that my client chose to bid less than the minimum bid, less than the assessed value. And maybe give an explanation of why. And I'll try and do that. And also, Jacqueline Pers, on behalf of Indiana Invesco, is here as well, and she may be able to provide some insight that I can't. But essentially, my client no doubt took a risk, right? Had someone else come in and bid the minimum bid of $1,800, they would have won, and we wouldn't be sitting here. So they were confident that, quite frankly, much like in his case, it has virtually no value. It has value to him only because he owns all the property surrounding it. But it has no immediate value. You couldn't build or develop on this lot. This lot potentially in the future could be cobbled together with the other property he has. It probably still would never allow for any type of structure, and I'll explain why, as you may know already, but it could be cobbled together and provide additional green space for some type of subdivision. Maybe. And that's a big maybe, because Wild Rose and this lot, this side of Wild Rose, most of the lots are encumbered by a 75-foot ditch easement, a statutory easement. So the lot is 115 feet front to back. 75 feet of the entire lot are encumbered by that easement, which, while does not make development impossible, makes it quite interesting, usually expensive, given the technology and the regulations that exist. So that may or may not have been known by the assessor as it came up with the $1,800 assessed value. In addition to that, which absolutely the assessed value does not factor in, is when we began this process, we were notified by the Michigan City Sanitary District that in fact there was an open ditch on the property that kind of allowed, I presume, water to drain from Wild Rose towards White Ditch. So as part and parcel of the bid process, whoever the successful bidder was would have had to further encumber the property with a sanitary district easement. So just kind of a terrible visual, but if this is the lot you have, and this is White Ditch, you've got this much already encumbered, and now you'll have that much as well. So essentially the only free portion is the corner up here. So 75% of the lot is encumbered by an easement. Again, probably has no value to maybe anybody out, in the market, which is probably why there were no bidders. And even as it sits, It has no immediate value to my client because he will obviously immediately, this would go to the company, they'd start paying taxes on it. So it has no great productive value right away, but again, he owns everything on that side, on both sides of it. He kind of wants to cobble together one free, continuous piece of property. And so that kind of is my explanation, I guess, for why he bid what he bid. He obviously wants the property, wants to take it off the city's hands. Sanitary district is fine with a private owner taking it as long as the easement is created, which we've agreed to do. And Jim Meyer and I have already discussed the form of easement. And in fact, my client, again, another factor of it took on the cost of actually having the drawing for the easement done so that the Board of Works and the sanitary district didn't have to pay for it. So obviously he's got my time, he's got that time. And so he's got some cost and skin in the game already. So I guess that's our explanation of why we bid what we bid.
So if we eliminate all that portion of that lot, which is small anyway, from consideration, what's left is worth about $500.
At the most, I would say yes. That's a fair assessment. Yeah.
Okay. Members of the board have any questions?
No. Motion to approve?
Support.
There's a motion and a second to approve the awarding of the bid for the property. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. And the motion passes 3-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for a very detailed and informative explanation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day. And I'll follow up with Ms. LePage.
I'll
about
prepare
all
the
the
documents and get them to you.
details. Thanks again.
You bet. Next on our agenda for this morning is the Community Crossing Matching Grant for 2023-2, the paving project. And the bids were open. We have before us the Reith Riley Construction Company as the recommended company to deal with. Their bid was the lowest and most responsive bid, 12% below the engineer's estimate and 17% below the second bidder. Does anyone have any? Oh, I'm sorry.
Good morning, board. Brad Minnick, Haas and Associates. You can continue.
No, go ahead, Brad.
Okay, so that was the base bid package, and Reith Riley was confirmed low, as you said. There was also an alternate bid package, for which Reith Riley has also been confirmed low. The summation of three alternates had a bid cost of $158,229.95. The bid was 24% below the engineer's estimate of $207,623 and 18% below the second bidder. Therefore, I recommend the issuance of notice of award to Reith Riley for the base bid in the amount of $1,790,938.20, which will be funded as a CCMG project, and alternate one in the amount of $36,113.75, alternate two in the amount of $58,080, alternate three in the amount of $64,036.20. Alternates A1, A2, and A3 are being funded solely by the Michigan City Park and Recs Department as standalone projects separate from the CCMG project. The grand total of the base bid and all alternates is $1,949,168.15. And I do have concurrence from the Park and Rec Department for their portion of the work.
I appreciate all the detail and the information you sent us. Made it very clear. Thank you, Brad. Any comments from board members?
No, like you said, it was out of detail. I mean,
Yeah.
very detailed.
Yeah,
Answer most of the questions, if there was any.
I appreciate that too. Is there anybody in the public that would like to comment on this item before we accept the motion? Any public comment? Not hearing any. I'll entertain a motion on the wording.
I'll motion to accept this bid.
There's a motion and
Support.
there's a motion and a second All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. The motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is a resolution amending all policies of the Board of Public Works and Safety to conform with Executive Order 2024-1 from Mayor Angie. It basically establishes Isabel as clerk for the Board of Works. Any comments?
No, again, reading all the information, it makes sense. I think it was a great move on the mayor's part. Motion to approve.
With support.
On the motion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes 3-0. And thank you to the mayor for the excellent move she's made so far to reorganize that administrative office. Next on the agenda is an engineering service contract with Global Engineering for 2024 in an amount not to exceed $217,000. And I believe, Shem, do you want to address that?
Good morning, board. Shyam Khalil, Global Engineering at 601 Franklin Street. So the contract that is in front of you, it's for the 2024-1 CCMG grant cycle for 2024. This year, it's a little bit different than previous years. The state is allowing up to $1.5 million as a match. So a total project could go up to $3 million. But I'll be glad to answer any questions for the contract itself.
This is similar to the work you've done for the city many times over, and you've done great work. We've enjoyed the partnership we have with you.
Same here. Thank you so much.
Any, is there any other public comment?
Good morning to the Board of Works team. Good morning. So with the 1.5, so we have $3 million now that we can do paving for. But also I would like to just to share with you that the Redevelopment Commission did commit $600,000 towards the match and engineering services. We did that. That happened at the last Redevelopment Commission meeting. This is a good opportunity for us to tackle more streets than we've been able to do. I will advise that I am working with working on an application as well for the RAISE grant, federal grant, which is up to $25 million. This is going to be a priority for us for the next several years. So I support Global Engineering and doing the work for us.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Board?
Motion to approve.
With support.
We have a motion and a second on the contract with Global for 2024. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The vote is 3-0 and the contract is approved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Looking forward.
Next on the agenda is the correspondence received from Mayor requesting the Board of Works appoint Bruce De Medici as the board's appointment to the Plan Commission due to the term expiration of Geraldine McCabe. Is that Mealy? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name. Demici? Okay.
What's this?
Is he present? Is Bruce present?
I don't see it.
Doesn't need to be.
No, I don't see it.
Doesn't. Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
I motion that we approve Bruce to serve on the planning commission.
Support.
I support that as well. It's hard to get people to serve on all these commissions and all these committees, and I applaud anyone from the public who volunteers to serve the public in this capacity. So thank you to Bruce, and all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Bruce. You're approved 3-0. Next on the agenda is a street closure. Joe Sagers, HRP Construction, is requesting street closures on portions of 8th Street to perform Concord Cleaners Groundwater Interceptor Trench Project from January 22 of this year through March 15th of this year.
Morning.
Good morning.
Alan Cernak, I'm the attorney for the Redevelopment Commission. I'll just give you a quick history. This is fantastic news for the city. Back in 1990, Bagley Cleaners, operating under the name Concord Cleaners, owned a cleaning store on the corner of 11th and Franklin. They left that property in 1990, even after having done an environmental survey or environmental contamination survey on that property, knew it was toxic, and left anyway. In the ensuing 25 years or so, all of that toxicity migrated down towards Trail Creek, Jurgensen Hill, in the Trail Creek properties, if we define it as 11th Street and East Michigan Boulevard, including Cass Street, Holiday Street, and 8th Street. In the mid-2000s, 2004, 2005, the city was interested in developing that Trail Creek corridor as a developmental site. And the city set out acquiring those properties, everything except for Bloxham property. And after acquiring those properties, it was subsequently discovered all these toxic chemicals underground, as well as some vapor intrusion on subsurface levels. The result is it ended up being in an IDEM contamination site. And so the Michigan City then at that point then through the Redevelopment Commission commenced with an environmental recovery action against Bagley Cleaners, resulting in a settlement and payment of $1.8 million in 2019. We have been working since then with IDEM, with our consultant August Mack Incorporated, to clean up the site. IDEM requires 8 quarters of testing that allow for the determination of what the toxicity levels of the chemicals are in the ground. And the more important thing is what is defining the parameters of the plume that has been migrating from 11th and Michigan. We do 8 quarters of testing of that has now been completed. Now we know what we're doing. We know what's there. We have a plan for cleaning it up. So that's where we are. So that's the good news. HRP has submitted a bid and has been approved. Their contract has been approved by the Redevelopment Commission to put or install a trench intercept in the right along the right way there on 8th Street at the bottom of that hill to stop any further migration of the toxic levels of chemicals and stop it going any further anyway towards Trail Creek. But then the other thing, over time, I mean, this isn't going to be cleaned up probably in any of our lifetimes, but ultimately, you know, the trench interceptor and I'll let them talk about this because I don't understand it, but they can talk about, you know, in terms of what the ultimate goal is and how we get there and why they need the street closure to put this in.
Good morning. My name is Joe Sagers, and I represent HRP Construction, and we were awarded a project by the Redevelopment Commission to install a trench and some hard piping that was designed by August Mack Environmental. And in order to install this trench and pipe, we need some road closures to safely perform the work for our employees and the general public. The area that this is being installed is very close to the roadway, so we will be impacting traffic. We have hired state barricading to implement the stuff according to rules and regulations, and I've designed it to minimize the impact to the residents and community. And I've made the commitment that there are the length of project is a couple months, but the work will not take that long. But like one thing is they need to come in and do a week's worth of work and then order the liner, and that will take 3 weeks. So what I've committed to is in that amount of time to open the road back up. So I'm doing what I can to minimize any disruptions.
I have a question. Is this is like deja vu to me, because didn't we have the same issue with a cleaner that was on the corner of 11th and the Boulevard?
No, it's the same.
Is this the same one?
Same one.
And we're still dealing with this.
Yeah.
You're probably right. We're not going to get this cleaned up in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
But it will get cleaned up.
Have we managed to contain this before it got to Trail Creek, or has there been contamination already?
Well, it hasn't gotten to Camp Trail. It has not gotten to Trail Creek yet. Oh, I'm sorry. It has not gotten to Trail Creek yet, but it has gotten to the surrounding property right on the that development. Is it on the other side of Trail Creek or on this? It is on the other side of Trail Creek that you were just showing them.
Good morning, Board. Scarlett, Executive Director of the Redevelopment Commission. So it hasn't reached Trail Creek quite yet. It's in the properties. It's underneath. You got to remember this is in the ground, in the water, or in the groundwater, and it all is running toward Trail Creek. It's daylighting where we're going to put the trench interceptor, meaning it's coming literally out of the hill there. It's that water. You may drop down there and see the water coming out of the hill at the bottom of the stairs right there. That's actually what we're trying to catch and contain right there. It's starting to daylight, like today on massive rain events or torrential rain events we have here. It causes it to daylight more. I wouldn't say that it's all. I don't think it's all the way to Trail Creek yet. It hasn't gotten to Trail Creek yet.
The reason why this also gets important too, in terms of the timing of this, in addition to the overall thing, I mean, that's obviously the most important thing, but we have a couple of developers that are interested in developing that property, and that's what I was trying to figure out, which side of Trail Creek they were on, but they're not. They're still on the good side of Trail Creek. So it has not gotten there, but it's gotten to where that development site is in some places. So yeah, so the trench intercept. So the reason for the timing is that IDEM also requires 2 different testings. One will be in February this year after the initial installation of the trench interceptor, and then the second one sometime in the fall. If both those tests come back good, positive progress, we can close the IDEM site, and then we can start looking for development in that other site sometime in 2025.
Okay, so despite those issues, we do have developers who are interested in that property.
There will be some
That's a good
environmental
sign.
restrictive covenants, yes, but the developers are aware of that. And obviously, properties to the east or contamination to the east is worse than contamination to the west, just by the way the natural migration has been. But actually, to the west side of that development process, it's completely clean. So
some of those remediations are that the developers are aware of is there may be vapor barriers that have to be installed at construction, can't drill a well, things of that nature. We're not going to drill a well anyway. So it's just things like that, typical restrictions.
One other quick question. Have you actually started work on this?
No, it was our intent to have started by now, but in order for me to come in front of this board to get approval for the street closures, we delayed our work. So it is our intent to start Wednesday.
Okay. Yeah, my initial question when I saw this was, I think our original meeting was scheduled for the day that you were going to start. And I thought, isn't this something that we should have seen before now? This request should have come to us before the project was due to start on the same day. So in the future, I would hope that we would get an earlier heads up on this before the work was due to commence. But clearly, this is something that we want done, and it will be good for Michigan City for sure.
I think time is of essence. I recall these meetings. I attended some of those meetings. I'm not saying time is of essence just because we have interested developers. I'm looking at it from a safety standpoint, and I see urgency here. Have we had feedback from all the city emergency departments that will probably be impacted by the closure of this street?
I filled out the proper paperwork in December, so I don't know if that has been distributed or not. I can't answer that. I assume it has.
I'm seeing a member of the police department shaking his head no back
I
there.
was just, yeah.
Good morning, Brian Wright, Commander of the Michigan City Police Department Traffic Division. This is
Morning.
actually the first we are hearing of it. However, I did just, with you including the links in the email, I did just look at it to see what roads it was, and we shouldn't have an issue with it. With where it is, we'll be able to adjust our responses and everything accordingly,
Okay.
and I can reach out to the fire department and
Fire
EMS as well.
department. Yeah, okay.
So I'll take care of that.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anything for you? Anything? You good, Gene?
I'm good.
Anybody else from the public like to address this item before we?
Good morning, Scott Mellon, 200 Kenwood Place. I attended the redevelopment meeting, and I don't think they're explaining the project to you very well. They want to build an interceptor trench at the base of this hill at 8th Street where there are 5 seeps of water coming out when there's a heavy rain event. The trench will intercept that. I believe there are 5 French drains also as part of that to collect that leachate, if you will. They only need a partial closing of the street, I believe, maybe a lane closure, not a full closure while they do the trenching. Part of their project is then a lateral sewer connection that crosses 8th Street to connect to a main sewer line to take the leachate to the sanitary plant. The water management or the sanitary plant's already said we can handle that, we can deal with this pollution. At the redevelopment meeting, they said they only needed a week to close the street to cross it for that sewer work. And one other portion of their project is a liner for the existing sewer line on 8th Street where they're getting seepage. So I don't think there's a major closure here. And as this has been going on for decades and years in front of this board, the minor inconvenience of a week-long closure is clearly de minimis, and this should be approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm reading over the comments that you had in your application, and it does clearly show that you're more than willing to do what you have to do to keep traffic flow moving through that area by removing barricades if you know you're not going to be there for a longer period of time and whatnot. So I appreciate that on your behalf, and I appreciate the comments from the public. Anybody else from the public like to address this? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Motion to approve.
Support.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is approved 3-0, and you can get at it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of workers' comp rework. Charlie Keene and Matt Weber, General Insurance Services, are requesting approval. The 2024-2025 Self-Fund Workers' Compensation Program Buffer Layer Excess Component Renewal. The buffer layer term is January 15th of this year to January 15th of next year. Charlie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today we're here to seek approval of the buffer layer excess, but I thought it would be a good opportunity to kind of just review the overall big picture of the self-funded work comp program. In your packet on page 2, just a very brief historical background of the program. It renews on January 15th. We started the program in 2008. Sanitary District joined the program on April 1st of 2010. And the program has basically 4 components. There's kind of a visual aid to help you kind of understand the self-insured program. First element is the excess coverage. And that covers anything over and above $600,000 loss and $750,000 for the police and fire. The buffer layer, which we're seeking approval today, brings both of those retentions down to $300,000. And then everything from $300,000 to $1 is the responsibility of the city and their self-insured loss fund. And then the fourth component is a third-party administrator that handles the claims adjustment per state statute. As far as premium goes, the buffer layer renewal premium is $64,568.85. That represents a $3,068.85 increase over the prior year, which is very favorable on excess insurance for public entities. Very competitive. And the reason we're not seeking approval for the excess and the TPA contracts is those are on 2-year contracts and we're midterm.
So there could be, at a later time, there could be a request for increases in the premium for those items.
Yeah, so we'll be back roughly a year from now with those renewals. Overall, big picture, this has served the city very, very well. This is a very cost-effective strategy. Most municipalities of the size of Michigan City and higher do self-insure the workers' compensation. So this is a very common program, and it has worked very well over the years. The third-party administrator, they don't work for an insurance company, they work for the city. So they do what's in the best interest of the city, not what's in the best interest of an insurance company. So
the three, go ahead.
Yeah. Last comment is, as far as the loss fund, the city and the sanitary district together should budget about $600,000 for the claims fund, which is which we've worked with the city controller's office for many, many years to make sure that this is funded properly and included in the budgets.
Yeah, I know that 600,000, 400 of it is the city and 200. And just for the purpose of the minutes, the 3,068.85, that's the sum of the city's portion, which is 2,424.39, and the sanitary district, which is 644.46.
Correct.
Okay.
I went over that pretty quickly. Are there any questions?
Not for me. I don't know about Candace and Jean, but I spent some time with the attorney going over this on Tuesday, so I think I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I haven't had any feedback from council. No.
Okay.
Is there anyone from the public who wishes to address this item? Seeing none, a board comment or board action?
Motion to approve.
Support.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved 3-0. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Next up, special events requests. Terry Greetham, Special Events Coordinator, is requesting approval. We'll do these one at a time. Approval of contract between City of Michigan City and Sand Lovers LLC for event management services for the 2024 Singing Sands Sculpturing Festival. Hi, Terry.
Good morning. Terry Greetham, Michigan City Special Events. Yes, this contract is comparable to the contract we signed with Sand Lovers for last year's Singing Sand Sculpting Festival. The only changes that were made to the contract were, of course, the dates, and we did make an adjustment to the insurance requirements. We found that we were requiring the Sand Lovers to provide a much higher amount of insurance than we were for other events that were comparable in Washington Park. So we felt it was important to put that at the same level so that everybody was paying, providing the same amount of insurance. I worked with Amber as well as Matt and Charlie with General Insurance to make that adjustment. And then once the adjustment was made to the contract was presented to Amber as well as Mayor Angie for approval.
I know when I initially looked at this, there's actually two contracts here.
Yeah.
The one I just read. Then there's another one that looks almost the same, but it's for consulting, not event management.
Yes.
And the total of those two is $37,000.
Yes.
If you just read this over briefly, as I did initially, I thought we've got two contracts here for the same thing. Is it for 37,000 twice or just 37,000?
No,
It's
no,
one.
it's 37,000 is the total.
Right.
There's a fee for the consulting and preparation services. They book all of the artists, all of the sculptors. They schedule their housing, they schedule their transportation, they do promotions for the event. There's a lot of preparation in advance of the event that they have to do. So the first contract is to handle that portion of it. The second contract is to actually run the management of the event on property during the event itself.
Okay.
So the reason why we did that was for the consulting part of it, so that they could get paid as they would bill us monthly. So we figured out it may be more beneficial for us to get that invoice, whereas they did not want to wait till the end of the event to be paid in full.
Yes, because they are putting out a considerable amount of money in advance of the event to make this happen. So asking them to put that money out in advance and then recouping it at the end didn't make sense. So Amber made the suggestion that we split it.
Totally makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Just a typo thing I think we should fix for the purpose of the minutes. The second contract, not the management, but the consulting, in the agenda that I have, it says approval or Sand Lovers LLC for consumer services.
Yes.
And that should be
consultants,
consulting
yes.
services. Okay. Anybody, we're going to discuss these and we'll get to the last one. Anybody from the public wish to address the sand sculpting contract? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion on the approval of the contract for management as well as the approval of the contract for consulting.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well.
Good catch.
So the contract with Sand Lovers LLC is approved 3-0. There's another item on the agenda, approval of a contract between Michigan City and Pyrotechnico Fireworks, Inc. for the annual fireworks display on July 4th of 24 and July 4th of 25. I understand that we're being recommended to table this by legal counsel.
Correct, Mr. President. There's some language in there that I want to talk to the vendor about, possibly modifying. So I would ask the board to table it to the next meeting.
So the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. So on the basis of advice from legal counsel, I'll entertain a motion to table.
Motion to a table for the next meeting.
Support.
We have a motion and a second to table the contract on the pyrotechnical fireworks in the city of Michigan City. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that item is tabled till our next meeting, and Isabel, you can make sure that ends up on our agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a traffic control device request from Ryan McGrath, 118 Krieger Ave, Michigan City, requesting the installation of a mirror for blind traffic at the new subdivision of Harbor Point. Is Ryan with us today?
Is he here?
Good morning, Greg Coulter, Michigan City Council. Ryan's in the first ward and he's not able to be here today, but I'm familiar with his application and can answer questions. Excuse me, nervous for some reason.
You shouldn't be.
No, I shouldn't be. No, it's not my mirror.
So you're familiar with the request?
Yeah, so he's at the top of Bismarck Hill. So it's a very bad spot for traffic. So him and his neighbors are working on this application to just be a bit more able to get out of their driveway safely.
Has the police department been made aware of this? If I understand this right, you're not asking for a sign like a stop sign or a yield sign. You're asking for a mirror.
So when talking to other people as well, we are interested in a sign as well, or in a replacement of it.
Mr. President, I might advise that we reach out to Brad that's in the audience too, just from his perspective, if he's looked at the manual for traffic devices and can make a recommendation, as well as police.
Is this something we'll go through Skylar as well? If we're looking at, I mean, I'm interested in hearing from the police department and from maybe planning.
I know what they're talking about and I understand what he's asking. I kind of rely on our police officers and our engineer because there is a manual with things like that. But essentially what's going on there, just so you have an idea, is there was an approved drive that 3 houses share there. So you go in and it's literally on the top of the hill. So it's kind of a blind spot, if you will, once you top the top of that hill. And 3 houses it serves 2 houses now. There's another building site there. But it's essentially an alley that you're coming out on top of the hill. You guys have been up there, you know what I'm talking about. But I'll rely on these professionals to tell us what make a recommendation.
Thank you. Okay. Brian.
Honestly, with the weather and everything that we had last week, I haven't had a chance really to make it over and look at this any further because I've been out dealing with the snow and the street department and all that. I'll probably defer more so to Brad because I know he has looked at this and we did talk before the meeting about that thought. I would be interested, however, knowing what type of signs you guys would be interested in. So we could, look at that avenue as well. Brad.
Okay, so the initial application was for a mirror, and the installation of that by Michigan City would open the city up to potential liability because of the non-standard traffic control device. In the event it was damaged or covered over with snow and ice and limited in its functionality, that's not a liability the city's going to want to take on. I can, however, look at MUTCD, which is NDOT's manual on uniform traffic control devices, MUTCD standards for blind driveways, and have a recommendation for the board at the next meeting.
Okay, so this mirror, this non-standard thing that we're talking about, this is not covered in the manual?
Correct.
Okay.
But I think what he's looking at is an alternative for some street signs.
It's a street sign,
Correct.
The signs would be covered, yes, but a mirror is not.
But you need to do additional research on that.
Yes, please.
These would be installed on the city easement, not on private property?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
The signage would be on the city's, yes.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Do you guys have any questions?
No, I'm just curious as to why wasn't this addressed when the development occurred? I just, it's just
I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah.
Good question. So it seems to me that what we ought to do with this item at this point is table it until our next meeting and give Brad an opportunity to further research.
Yes, please.
I concur.
Is that a motion?
Yes, motion to table until next meeting.
Support.
On the motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. This is tabled until our next meeting. Isabel, you can make sure we get it on the agenda. Thank you for being here to explain Ryan's requests. Next item on the agenda is EPA soil sampling request. Alan Jarrell, US EPA, is requesting permission to conduct soil sampling on city-owned parcels located on Green Street and bearing a long parcel number. Is he available?
I don't believe he is, but Mr. President, I did speak with Mr. Gerald the other day, and I also spoke with legal counsel for the EPA. Legal counsel is investigating a couple questions that I had for her. But Mr. Gerald did say that because of the weather, this isn't something that's going to happen immediately for the soil sampling. So they had no objection to us tabling this today.
Okay.
So I would ask the board to table it so I can figure out a couple of my questions with the EPA attorney.
You just need a couple of weeks till our next meeting?
Just to the next meeting.
Okay. Per request from legal counsel, I'll entertain a motion to table until our next meeting.
Support.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. This item is tabled until our next meeting, and Isabel can again make sure it ends up on the agenda.
I should have said that as
You're okay.
a motion.
Next item on the agenda, Brother Sean, Marquette Catholic High School, 109 Ann Street, Michigan City, is requesting to replace the stop sign on the corner of Washington and 10th Street for safety reasons. Is he present today? I've got to say, yesterday I drove by that intersection and there is a stop sign on the corner of Washington and 10th. It's not faulty in any way that I can tell. It looks like it's doing what it's supposed to do. Is the police department aware of any issue with that stop sign?
I looked at this yesterday also, along with, pulled some crash data. Since 2015, we've only had 10 crashes there, and 3 of those are due to not having a stop sign going north and south on Washington. So I see no issues there. With the stop signs on 10th Street, both going east and west, I didn't see any view obstructions or anything like that. So I honestly think it's fine how it is at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't see anything that would obstruct the view there either. And it has an addendum below it that says north-south traffic on Washington does not stop.
Right.
So I don't, although Brother Sean is not here to plead his case, I don't really see any need to do anything with that stop sign.
I'm in agreement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No.
Anybody from the community like to address this?
Yeah, Tommy Kolovic, 1316 Ohio Street. I know Brother Sean's been before this board many times, have a request to make that into a 4-way stop. Reason is they haven't done it. It's always been denied because the traffic there backs up to the South Shore tracks. So that's the reason why they've always been. I don't see anything wrong. I think you need to deny this. I've mentioned the previous board in the past. You know, the book of Ecclesiastes teaches us that there's a season of time for every purpose under heaven. I feel it's time for Michigan City Marquette to look for a new site for their campus. You shouldn't have this bustling city street now where your entire grade through 9 student bodies got to cross during their passing period. Their fellow diocesan school, Andrean, over in Lake County, they got a multi-acre site at US I-65 and US 231 in Crown Point. They're going to build a new Andrean High School there. I think it's time for, they've been there 150 years. It's time for them to rethink their location for their campus. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments on the stop sign as well.
Yeah.
And thank you for being diligent in bringing items to our attention. Appreciate that.
With the comments from our officer, I make a motion to decline.
Support.
There's a motion and a second to deny the request to replace the stop sign. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The vote is 3-0 to deny the request. Next up is a vendor license, Jesus Tapia, Tacos, my friend, 621 Franklin Street, Michigan City, is requesting a vendor license at 621 Franklin for Monday through Saturday, 10:30 a.m. till 8 p.m. And this application is basically, as I understand, a renewal.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I wait for the license and etc. Yes, only question. I had little trouble now with the winter with the move the truck. I remember last year you told me guys, yes, I need to move every day, right? But yes, I wanna tell you it's possible. Yes, living there only in the winter because it's trouble and the pipes is frozen with the water. Because if the health department come in and inspection is if you don't have the water running, this close, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I needed something warm so for the pipes.
Okay. And I'd also remark that everything seems to be in order on the application for the vendor license. You have a rental contract with the owner of the property in place, and then you've got their approval to be there as well. I guess I asked Amber if everything, all the requirements have been met per the ordinance.
It has, but I do have some concerns about it not being able to move. Like, when could it be moved?
I'm sorry?
I do have some concerns about its inability to be moved. Like, when could it be moved?
Okay.
Are you saying you can't move it daily?
Yeah. Okay, he's only moving when I had like events, you know. But my deal is not moving for a while. She's living there. But I remember you say last year you just need to move every day.
Correct.
But I say it's okay. But just only I told you just give me change for just only leave it for the winter.
Leave it there for the winter?
Yeah, only for the winter.
No, I don't. That's not in compliance with our ordinance. Could we table this and work with you and see what we can do, and bring it back to this board?
Okay.
Because I don't think are you still, let me see, when did your last one expire?
I think at December 31.
Okay, yeah, because right now, if it's not being moved, you're not in compliance with our ordinance.
Okay.
Okay. When did you last move it?
That is moved every day. So right now it's parking on the Magros because the owner he's rent to me this building. It's supposed to be the open restaurant right there, but the state is not respond my application. He's put application in April, but he's not respond anything because the Magros is never for the restaurant, right? So I want to open it in there, but the state is never respond application. But I use the parking lot for the taco truck, so he's put it right there every day. So now I got an electric cord for the refrigerators, but it's really trouble, you know. Disconnect, you know. So this is telling I need in there because I had a plow, so it's a 240 power for all the taco truck, for the heater water, the fan and everything.
So maybe if you could stay around afterwards and we can discuss this a little bit further, but I'd ask the board to table it for right now.
Okay.
We want to try to find a way here that we can make this work for you as well as for the city. So I'll entertain a motion to table till the next meeting.
Motion to table the next meeting.
Support.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the vote is 3-0 to table to our next meeting. And if you can just hang around after the meeting and talk with Amber and maybe with Skylar, we'll see if we can't work something out.
Is it after finish the meeting?
After this
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, from Personnel, Tatanisha George, Personnel Director, is requesting approval of the update for the Executive Assistant job description to reflect additional responsibilities and duties as clerk for the Board of Works.
Good morning, Board. Tatanisha George, Personnel Director, City of Michigan City. I have 3 items for you today. With the first being, as the president said, the update for the job description of executive assistant. This position is currently in the mayor's office. And with the additional duties that have been added to this particular position, to include clerk for the Board of Works, the job description needed to be updated.
Ms. George, isn't it Executive Assistant 3? Isn't that the official title?
It's executive assistant, and then the department is mayor's office. The category is executive assistant. Yeah, you're correct. I'm
It's
sorry.
3,
It's
okay.
3, yeah.
We just need to amend, title.
Okay, there are 3 requests here. We're going to do these one at a time, if that's okay with the board. So this one is on the additional responsibilities for the clerk for the Board of Works. Everything is consistent, again, with the mayor's reorganizational plans for her administrative team.
That's right.
Is there anybody from the public who would like to address this? Seeing nobody, board members, do you have any questions or concerns?
No.
Then I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Support.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is approved 3-0. The second request is changing the Promise Scholarship Director to Education and Workforce Development Director to reflect the additional responsibilities and duties.
Yes, this job description, as you said, was for the Promise Scholarship Director. In the mayor's plan to reorganize her administration, she decided that she wanted to combine, she wanted to have additional duties to address the workforce development for the citizens of Michigan City. So this job description would become the Education and Workforce Development Director. And I think I gave you a copy of the new job description with the additional duties that would be highlighted. And I believe Mayor has some comments regarding this.
Good morning again. The Promise Scholarship Director, previously, the sole responsibility was just managing through paperwork our scholarship program. And I didn't feel that that was the best use of that position. So with that being said, there are a couple of things that will come down the pipeline after this is done. So I would like to, number one, reorganize the Promise Scholarship ordinance to reflect that this will now be a part of this new lead position. Keela Ward is here, Ms. Keela Ward is here, that she will manage the project or program. She's been meeting with the Unity Foundation to see what we can do to streamline it to be online, for our students to be able to apply online. We have significant amounts of money in that fund that have been underutilized. And right now we have an exception committee. They only meet if there's an exception or an appeal. And I think that committee could be more of a scholarship committee that actually looks at the applications. It's only once a year. There's only 2, amounts, 2 times where we distribute the funds, and that Ms. Keela Ward will manage, making sure they get the grades and all that. But what I would like to see, and what this position will do now, is she will be our conduit to the unions, to Center for Workforce Innovation, Work One. We'll create a jobs list. We're going to have an internship program that will be under her job. She'll be handling the internship program that is on the council agenda if that's passed. So I've added additional responsibilities so that this job is position is more of a reflection of how do we support the community in making sure that they're gainfully employed with livable wages.
I'm really happy to see this job description, because I know one of the passions of the mayor and mine as well is workforce development. And anything we can do to improve workforce development in Michigan City is a plus. We need more and more to bring businesses with their expectations together with education and their end product. So I think this will help do that. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to address this request? Seeing none. Members, comment?
No, I just feel that it makes sense. I mean,
Yeah, I really feel the Promise Scholarship Director's position has been underutilized for a long time, and I'm really glad to see it expanding.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on the request.
motion to approve.
And support.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes 3-0. The last item for Tatanisha is an update to City Policy 303 relative to vacation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This basically is a cleanup of our current city policy regarding the employee vacation policy. What we did was, or what has been done is that we cleaned up some language. We made some changes to when departments can submit for the employee's vacation, and the vacation sellback. And we also put some restraints on the number of hours of vacation time that people are able to carry over into a new year if they are unable to utilize them in the actual year that they accrue them. And we also put a restriction on how often they can carry over. So before, employees were carrying over up to 40 hours of vacation time a year, each year. And we are just requesting and asking that they if they do have that type of time to carry over, that they make the request every other year. So that if a person has 200 vacation hours and then they come into the new year with an additional 40, then that's 240 hours. It is really difficult for departments to staff if a person has an extraordinary number of vacation hours that they have to take. So this is just a way to try to curtail some of that.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Anybody from the public wish to address?
Some of these requests, they came from a meeting that we had. Just for sake of transparency, as we came into this administration, we had significant amounts of hours by appointments of the former mayor. And what I'm trying to do is to make sure that myself included, or any future mayor, does not take advantage of the new administration's budget. It places significant constraints on the new administration when these amounts aren't budgeted for. And we want to make sure that if employees have hours, that they sell them back by the appropriate time. We had upwards of 200 hours requested to be sold out in a budget for the following year. And I don't want that to happen, because I think it's not fair, actually, for a new administration to come into a situation where we're paying out for people who have not followed the rules, quite frankly. So we want to make sure we put the proper language in so that it doesn't happen again.
Makes sense. Yeah. Board members, any comments, or you want to make a motion?
No, I agree with, more so because of staffing. Accumulating a lot of vacation time can impact staffing. I used to have that issue all the time on the department. But yeah, I agree with you on that. Other than that, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
And support.
Motion and a second to change language on vacation. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The vote is 3-0. to approve the update.
Thank you.
Thank
Board.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Brad Minnick, Housing Associates LLC, 526 Franklin Street, requesting to solicit quotes for 2024 sidewalk replacements across Michigan City. Work is to be completed on or before September 1st, 2024.
Good morning again. So you should have in your packet a map that shows with the colored pins the approximate locations of the sidewalk replacement contract. And this is a compilation of submittals primarily by the city council over the last few years. And we're excited to take this out for quotes with the board's permission, with an anticipated completion date on or before September 1st. So if there are any questions about the locations, the bid package that I shared with Amber has the map in addition to the lengths and widths of the various sidewalk locations across the city.
I did appreciate the map that you sent, and it's going to take a while to get through this. But the one thing in here that I really appreciate that you do for us is at the end of the request that you present, you always include a copy of that portion of the budget, the approved budget, where these expenditures are coming from, and that's a real assist. I appreciate you doing that.
Sure. And most of that contract is standard language and NDOT standard details. So there's approximately half a dozen pages that are the meat of the plans, if you will, and the rest of it is contract language and supporting documentation. So
I know there's going to be questions on this because there always is. Could you briefly explain how you prioritize, how you make decisions on which sidewalks are going to be addressed this year?
Budgetary is a large component of it. We had a tort claim a few months ago, I think late November, that sidewalk section is part of the replacement package. Again, as I said, different council members have been contributing to the list over the last several years. I think it's the best course of action is to take the annual budget and do a sidewalk package every 2 years with that combination. That way you get more bang for your buck and more interest from local contractors with a larger package. So that's basically the origin of the contract.
So an important part of it, though, are ward council people who talk to their own people or their own people talk to them, and then you accept recommendations from them on those sidewalks that probably ought to be handled more before others.
Yes, and as well as sidewalk inquiries or concerns that come in through the planning department as well. We've got a handful of those.
Great. Anybody from the public?
Oh, great.
Whenever you make your motion, can you make sure to say not to exceed $100,000? We have a few budgetary constraints that we're working under right now with some funds based on the previous administration's budget that was presented. So if we could just say not to exceed $100,000, that would be great.
Thank you.
Scott Mellon, 200 Kenwood Place. Do we have a cost sharing, a sidewalk replacement program in this town? Many other towns do, where they require the owners of the parcel that the sidewalk crosses to share in that cost. The community I've lived in the past, it's actually 50%, which I think is kind of high. Yeah. But given that we do have budgetary constraints, I wonder if it's something we could look at, maybe a 25% share with exceptions for seniors or people who meet a low income definition based on the county's income parameters. And that might be a way to stretch or our dollars on sidewalk replacements by having a little people contributing, maybe 25%. 50% seems high, but that might be something worth considering to stretch our budgetary dollars.
Interesting comment. I'm looking at Skylar. Skylar, are you aware of anything like that we have had in the past, or do we have something now?
Mr. President, we don't have an ordinance that governs that. It would have to be an ordinance created by the Common Council. And you are correct, other municipalities do have it, some do, some don't.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's an interesting idea, and I would recommend that you carry your comment to the Common Council at their next meeting.
Next Tuesday, right?
I don't know. I'm not on the city council.
You're supposed to be though, right?
We'll see.
We vote.
Any other comments from the public? Okay, I'll entertain a motion on the request.
Tom,
I'm sorry.
Tom,
you? Okay. I'll entertain a motion on the request, the sidewalk request, and include in your motion that it's not to exceed $100,000.
motion to approve, not to exceed $100,000.
Support.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is approved 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is correspondence received on January 12th, 2024 from Chief Marty Corley of the Michigan City Police Department advising of Officer Kelly S. Williams' retirement after 26 years of service. Is Chief here?
No, I didn't see it.
I'd like to read the letter. It's to the Michigan City Board of Works, reference Officer Kelly S. Williams. Dear Board of Works members, we would like to inform you of the retirement of Officer Kelly S. Williams from the Michigan City Police Department effective February 14th of 2024. Officer Williams was hired on August 11th, 1997 and has served the department for 26 years. We wish him well in his future endeavors. Respectfully, Marty Corley, Chief of Police. And for my own part, I'd like, on behalf of the citizens of Michigan City, the residents of Michigan City, to thank him for his service, thank all of you for your service, and best wishes on the retirement for Kelly Williams.
I would like to also thank Officer Williams for his 26 years of service and congratulate him on his retirement. Wishing him well and hopefully enjoy receiving his pension.
And this is for informational purposes only, so there's no need for public comment. We'll move on to the payroll docket, the next item on the agenda. Amber, does this need to be read out for the minutes?
The payroll docket?
Yeah.
The last board liked to read it out. It's really your preference.
So it doesn't need to be read?
You could approve it as presented or read it out.
Since there's a lot on this, unless the other board members have a preference, I'd like to just accept it as presented. Or unless we have an issue with it.
I'm
or would you rather it's read?
No, I'm okay with that as long as it goes into the minutes. Yeah.
Okay. You okay with that, Candace? Okay, then it's the decision of the board then that we will not read in detail the payroll docket or the claims docket, but we will make sure that it's printed verbatim in the minutes. So I'll accept the motion on the docket and the claims docket and the payroll docket.
Motion to approve the payroll and claims dockets.
Support.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Both are approved by a 3-0 vote. Next on the agenda is unfinished business. I don't see anything on the pending item list for today.
There was one thing about the guardrails.
Oh, there was?
Yeah, there
was. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Brad had presented quotes for guardrail replacement. I've had the opportunity to review the quote and I'm fine with it.
Is this
That's
the
really a
request that came from
recommendation.
Don Prisbalinski?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm familiar with that.
It's the guardrail located at Springland Street and 8th Street, or the wooden railing,
Yeah.
in fact, to be replaced by steel guardrail. So again, at a cost of $11,707. And I don't know if you have available to you the proof of funding. Did that come through in your packet?
I don't have anything on that in this packet. I know it was in the last packet that we received.
It was in the last packet or no?
It was.
Okay. Yeah, I had an email here from Controller Mary Lynn that it could be paid from local road and street fund 436.030. So with the board's permission, I'd like to authorize the contractor to install steel guardrail at that location. And Sean Smith with the street department had temporarily put up type 3 barricade signage, and he's going to remove that and use that for some of his barricades that are in poor shape over the years. So that'll be repurposed by the street department, and then the new guardrail will be installed.
Are we okay to vote on this, even though it's not on the agenda?
It's on your pending items list.
Does that come out? I don't have that with me. Am I supposed to hang on to that?
No, you should have had one with, but that's okay. That's all right. But the board gets a pending items list, so everything that you're tabled goes on there.
Yeah, I remember seeing this at our first meeting. Because I think I went through the whole thing and they said you only have to look at what's for that day. But
Correct.
so I didn't know that this was coming up for this meeting. I apologize. But I do remember the details of it, and I remember then thanking Councilman Prisbalinski for his due diligence in bringing that to our attention. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to address this item? Board members, do you have any further comments or any concerns?
No, I recall that as well.
And can you give me the amount? Was it 11,707?
That's correct.
And it's coming from local roads and streets fund?
That's correct. It was the account number 436.030.
Okay. And basically we're removing the wood and putting up steel barrier.
Correct.
Makes total sense. Okay, board, your pleasure on this item?
Motion to approve.
Support.
We have a motion and support to approve the recommendation from Brad. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is approved 3-0. You're clear to move, Brad. Thank you.
I had one other item, if I may. This had been carried over from several months ago, also from Councilman Don Prisbalinski, about ADA signage. And basically the signs at the push button crosswalks become faded over time due to sun exposure. And so I enlisted the service of Midwestern Electric, the city's on-call traffic signal contractor, to offer an inventory of the different locations of the signs. And then I had an inspector from Haas Associates go out and review which ones need to be replaced and which ones are in good condition. And there were 18 signs that needed to be replaced. And that quote that came through from Ray Russell at Midwestern Electric was for $95 each, a total of $1,710. Again, I had a proof of funding from the controller's office for this, and that was out of out of 141 signs. So a little more than 10% of the signs needed to be replaced. And I just wanted to circle back on the issue because it had been several months coordination. So I would leave it to the board if you'd want to take action on it now or table it.
Is that included in the pending items list that we got initially?
I don't know. It was carryover from several months ago.
What's the pleasure?
So it may have been lost in translation.
I have a question as far as the, I know you said we used our electrical contractor. I'm wondering, did they charge us for the assessment also, as well as the charge for the signs?
So I can explore the assessment. I typically don't see the invoices from Midwestern Electric, so I can look at that. But basically, for his part, he just gave me the location of the traffic signals, so it would have been a minimal effort on his part.
So what I would say is that I'm okay with it, but let me say this going forward, as far as projects like this, especially if we have people, contractors, great internship program project for them to do stuff like this at a much reduced cost, probably.
Yeah.
So I just want to put that in the back of your minds. We do need to replace them.
We do.
So I don't know, whatever your pleasure is, but I'm just want to make sure that we know when we have all these. Once we have our city engineer starts Monday next week, Tim Werner. He'll probably have an intern. We'll be able to knock some of these projects out at a reduced cost. So just want to keep that in the back of your mind.
I'm just a little nervous, I think, voting on this. This is something that we haven't really seen and that we haven't been able to read over.
Sure.
And I don't know how you feel, Gene and Candace, about it. I'm almost thinking this is something we ought to table until we have a chance to.
Yeah, there's certainly a need. It's quite glaring if you ride the city streets. I see quite a few. I've just always thought that the city was addressing those. But
Could you get the board a detailed list of all the signs that will be replaced?
I have that.
You do
I
have
can
that?
share
Okay.
that, but to your point, we could table this until the next meeting, and I could bring back the meeting minutes from when it was originally proposed.
Why don't you do that time
in calendar 23?
Yeah, I think I like that idea a lot, personally.
Sure.
How does the board feel about it?
I'm in agreement.
I do as well.
And one more thing, if I could add, I could also request from my contractor his cost for the signage only. That would offer the intern an opportunity to get to know the city streets of Michigan City, and just basically have the signs shipped here to the city, and then the street department could put them up or at Tim Werner's direction.
That sounds like a great idea also. So we'll give you I'll entertain a motion to table till our next meeting.
Thank you.
That request.
Support.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. You and I, Candace. So that the motion to table until our next meeting passes 3-0. And Brad, you can bring us the information we discussed. And so Isabel, make sure that appears on our agenda for our next meeting or on our pending items if you want. Next on the agenda is public comment. Is there anybody from the public who would like to comment?
Good morning, Board. Skylar York, Director of Planning. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Dave Albers. He may look familiar. He actually helped us on the Art Space project. So he's working for Flaherty and Collins now. You may recall, I think at our first board meeting, he was unable to attend. But what we told the previous Board of Works is that Flaherty and Collins would have a representative here at the first meeting of the month. And then if there was any issues, any additional road closures, alternative routes for hauling concrete, things of that nature. Mr. Albers will be here to address you, requests, and if there's questions about the project. So that's, just like to introduce you.
Yeah. Good morning.
Morning.
As Mr. York said, I've been hired by Flaherty and Collins Properties to be their local project manager, which I'm excited about. Another great project for the city. I am on site in their field office, which is located at the old Moose Lodge building at 1108 Franklin. And so as far as I like to give a quick update as far as progress of the project. Because of the weather, we've been restricted as far as the work that we've been able to do, but the aggregate pier foundations should resume next week. And then we'll be looking for foundations to start thereafter. One of the big things that we are coordinating with the city is the delivery of the precast panels. That is slated to start at the end of February, and that is going to come and be staged at the old Franciscan St. Anthony's at Barker and Wabash in the parking lot there. They're going to stage precast panels, so there will be semi trucks coming in north on Franklin from I-94, turning on to Barker and staging precast panels. Now, when it comes time to actually start installing the precast in basically end of March, this is where we've already have the method of transportation that was previously approved, and we will be giving advance notice to the Board of Works, at least 2 weeks notice before that shuttling starts to happen, because that's going to affect Wabash at 10th, where our trucks will have to switch over into southbound lanes. So we'll have escort services. We'll be coordinating with Corporal Wright and the Michigan City Police Department and all the other necessary city departments. So any questions that you guys have pertaining to the project, I can try to answer. You can also reach out. I'll make sure that you have my contact information so you can reach out to me offline as well.
That'd be great.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just ask one question? Would that be a pending item, or you just want to let it? I don't know what the pleasure of the board would be. Would it go on your pending item list?
I know Ms. Snyder, when she was clerk, was putting it on the agenda for the first of every month
However you guys.
to give an update.
Just
So
so you
it's,
know,
it's whatever your preference is, Mr. President.
I think putting it on as an update makes sense, because we already have Terry on that list and Park Department, which I'm going to address in a moment.
Makes sense. Excellent. Just so
Isabel can take care of that.
Hi, Tommy Kolovic, 1316 Ohio Street. I'm really happy to see that the $500,000 reconstruction, remodeling of the band shell, the old band shell in Washington Park's underway. I know the $350,000 that come from different nonprofits and private donations. I know Councilman Simmons and the council, they just approved the additional $150,000 for that. Now that's a very historical and beloved and cherished landmark here within our community. I know a lot of my family members have actually had their wedding ceremonies performed there. I know it's a popular spot for our students to go there and have their prom and graduation photos taken. Families have their portraits there. You know, we're not going to let it ever get run down or torn down. You tear that down, you're tearing apart of our history and our heritage as a people in a city. I know that was a very historical event they happened. It was on August 18th, 1996, when President Bill Clinton came and visited. I know Mayor Burleson met him in Kalamazoo. He rode the chain and gave us. You can actually go to YouTube, and the Presidential Library has a video of that on their YouTube page. I know the convention is Democratic actually coming back to Chicago again. I'd like to reach out to the Democratic National Committee and possibly see if President Biden would like to come here and visit us. I'd also like to have him, maybe number 44, Barack Obama, can come along with it. I'd really like to have him come here and speak. I really miss him being the president. I know we're all Democrats. You're all Democrat city councilmen that you serve. And that's just what I wanted to mention. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy.
Comments by the board?
Yes, I would like to commend all the city workers and private contractors who did a super job on cleaning up the streets during our snowstorm, as well as the public for staying off the streets while they clean the streets. I think it was a complete team effort. And again, I'd like to commend everyone for doing such a great job.
Candace?
I was second that motion. The cleanup crew, we had the main water break on Carwick and 12, sub-zero temperatures, 3 feet of snow, and our city kept plowing on as efficiently as they possibly could during all of that. So congratulations to all city workers involved in that.
And I had the same comment written down for myself to thank the mayor and her staff in dealing with the blizzard and the aftermath. It's something we haven't seen in that. I think you have to go all the way back to the 1950s before you have a snow that we had. So great job on the job that you did. And one last thing we talked about, including something on the agenda for the first meeting of the month to give just an update. We have one already with Terry, who's very religious about coming before us, Terry Greetham, on city activities. At our first meeting, the park department did not appear, but they said they'd be at our next meeting, and this is our next meeting. So, and I don't think there's anybody here from the park department.
Yeah.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, we have Mr.
Oh, are you going to come up during? We're going to wait until the next meeting. Okay, so Isabel, on our next agenda, make sure that you've got something in the agenda for Park Department to give us an update. Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The vote is 3-0. We are adjourned.